I'm going to show you a few exercises that use a resistance band, and they all are variations of a kneeling leg exercise. They target different muscles as well. So what we're going to start with is a full-on kneeling hip thrust that we're trying to target the glutes. So what I'm doing is I'm stepping out so that I have a lot of band tension on my hips and it's pulling me back the whole way, or trying to at least. And we want to go nice and slow so that you feel the tension in the glutes. You see also how I'm hinging over, but I'm keeping my back pretty neutral, and I'm starting with what we call a posterior pelvic tilt. That is going to make sure that your glutes are working the most. And this is the opposite of hyperextension. Now, after about 5 reps or so, I already start to feel the glutes firing up, burning a little bit. So you can keep that going either to failure or until you feel that your form is broken down. Now, you also want to make sure that you're bracing the abs. So keep your core tight. Bracing the abs is going to make sure that your lower back doesn't compensate. So this is what happens now if you do it wrong. You go too fast and you see how much my back is hyperextending. So I actually don't feel anything but my lower back pulling myself up, and I feel my quads actually working more than my glutes. That is defeating the purpose completely. So now what we can do to make it a little bit harder is increase the range of motion. So I just moved my feet from being on my toes to now being flat-footed on the top of my foot, and now I have an even bigger range of motion. I also personally find that doing this actually gets the glutes going more because it kind of limits the amount of quads. Everybody is going to feel something different, so maybe that's just me, but I feel like in that position, it's like a Bulgarian split squat, where if you're doing it with your toes up, you're going to feel more of that back legs quad helping you out, versus if you do it how I'm doing it here with your forefoot or the top of your foot on the ground, it decreases the likelihood of your quads taking over and puts more emphasis on the glutes. This version targets more of the quads, where I'm much more upright instead of hinged over. So what we're doing now is actually getting the quads a pretty big burn. You still might feel the glutes a bit, but the emphasis is more balanced. And now here is a different variation where I lock out the glutes. So you see that I'm in a neutral spine, slightly posterior pelvic tilt. And this is pure quads. This one you'll feel a lot. Again, we start with the toes up to limit the range of motion, and then as you get stronger, you can do the variation where you go flat-footed again on the top of your foot and increase the range of motion even more. So here you'll feel purely quads. Just remember that if you want to make it harder, you can step out further and step closer to the pole to make it easier. This goes to show that all you need is a resistance band to blast your glutes and your quads.